and welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Crumb. Now I know technically today we're supposed to be doing another new recipe because I've been doing it every other week, but the way things happen this weekend I didn't have time to try something new. So instead today we're making another thing that I know how to make with confidence, or at least a certain degree of confidence. So as a nod off to the weather getting warmer and spring being just around the corner, this week I decided to do something that's kind of more fresh, that'll be nice for spring. So I'm going to be making fish tacos with a mango salsa to go on top of it. And the fish I have here with me today, just some cod I got from the store. I had it thawing out last night in the fridge. It's still a little bit frozen, but it's not too bad, so we'll be able to cook with it just fine. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our cod, or our fish, into chunks. So I'm going to cut them to about this size of cubes. And I'm going to put them in a bowl over here so that we can season them before we cook them. Okay, so now that our fish is cut, we're going to go ahead and season it with some salt, some chili powder, some pepper, some garlic powder, some onion powder, and a little bit of cumin. Now we're going to mix it up so the seasonings are all evenly distributed. This should look something like this. Now I'm actually going to put this in the fridge while I get my vegetables and stuff for the salsa cut. That way I don't have to worry about trying to keep track of cooking it and not burning it while cutting stuff, while trying to take care of the baby since she's being fussy and won't let me put her down. And I don't have the carrier today because I got left at the in-laws' house. So I can't really just wear her on my chest like I normally would. I'm going to cook that separately after I have the salsa done, where originally I was going to cook it while I was cutting the salsa, but the baby's not going to let me do that, and I don't want to risk burning it, so yeah, I'm going to put that aside in the fridge. I have a new clean cutting board out. I washed my knife already. So you want to get a big mixing bowl for your salsa here. I'm going to start with the mangoes. I don't really know the official way you're supposed to cut mangoes, so I'm just going to do it the rustic way. So we're going to have to peel the mango. I'm going to do some thin slices on either end. That way I can kind of go around to get the peel off of it before I actually cut it. I'm trying not to cut the peel too thick because I don't want to lose very much of the fruit while I'm cutting this. So I'm trying to make sure I do really thin slices. That way I don't lose very much of the mango itself. Okay. Around this way. On the edge here. seems to be most of the peel there. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this away. And then I'm gonna try and cut the pit out. Okay, so now that I have this kind of roughly cut into chunks, I'm gonna go ahead and take my quick chopper, and I'm gonna take a couple of my mango chunks here, from my 2 mangoes. And I'm gonna put them inside the chopper. I'm just gonna go down a couple times until we have some rough, littler chunks there. And we're gonna do that to the rest of it. Save us from some time trying to cut everything manually. That's both of my mangoes cut for me already, so I don't have to worry about doing that now. I'm just gonna kind of scrape out the little extra pieces here. I'm gonna give this to the bean because it looks about bean size. Alright, so we're gonna take our mango chunks and we're gonna drop them into our bowl here. And then we're going to do the same thing with the jalapeños. So you're just going to cut these bad boys in half here. And then you can use a spoon to scrape out the seeds if you want. Or if you don't want to waste extra dishes, you can always cut these into fourths instead of halves. And then you can just use your knife to scrape the seeds out. So you have options of how you want to do that. Whatever you're more comfortable with or is easiest for you. So cutting your jalapeños into fourths like this to cut out the seeds is a good idea as well, because it's a common misconception that the seeds are the spiciest part of the jalapeno. In all actuality, it's the inner white part here that's the spiciest, although the seeds also pack quite a bit of a punch. So when you use your knife like this, you can also cut out all the white part to get rid of the spiciest part of the jalapeno as well, if you're someone who doesn't like spicy stuff. Got the seeds mostly out. I'm just gonna use my fingers to kind of brush the rest of the seeds off of it, and then I can use my knife to kind of scrape the rest of the seeds off the cutting board here, so we don't have to worry about them getting into anything when we're cutting the rest of the stuff up. Alright, so now that we have our jalapeños seeded and all that, we're just gonna kind of stack them up together so we can just cut them all in half at once. And then we can take this, and we're going to put it through the quick chopper as well. That. It's pretty nicely cut. I'm just going to scrape off the edge pieces here. The ones I got in the center. Just because I don't like to waste food personally. Okay, so now that we used the quick chopper, I got all our jalapeños cut. We're going to go ahead and add them to the bowl with the mangoes. And you could do all this manually by hand, it just takes a bit longer. So we have some nice small chunks there. And And we're gonna go ahead and do our onion next. So it's actually, most people don't know this, but it's easier to peel an onion after you cut it in half. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it in half and then peel it. And the top here is kind of wilted a little bit, but the rest of it's fine. So I'm just going to cut off the wilted bit because that's going to be very good quality. And then to cut our onion, we're just going to go along the sides, kind of at a diagonal angle here. So we're just going to boop, and boop, and boop. And you can make it as wide or thin as you want your slices to be. I'm doing mine a little bit on the chunky side, just because I like chunky onions in my salsa. But if you wanted, you could do them a lot closer together, and then they'll be smaller. You can also do it close together this way when you go to cut it, and they'll be small that way too. Or you can do it bigger, pull in bigger chunks. So if you're doing like a stew or something, you could put like that and have big chunks like that. But for salsa, I'm going to do about this size. Probably should have got a longer knife for this, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Anyway, and then your onions are already cut, so that's how you properly cut an onion. That way you don't have to worry about doing any extra steps or odds and ends. And then you can keep going the whole onion if you want. Once you get to the last little bit there, you can flip sideways and then go again and then just kind of cut it off. So it's pretty easy. You might as well just use the rest of the onion, so I'll just go ahead and do that actually. And you just kind of go like that once you get to the end of it. I still have another cut this way I can do though. Yeah, and then you can just cut it off the ends here. That way you're not wasting a whole lot of onion. And that way you're not wasting a whole lot of onion. So here's all of our onions for our salsa. Go ahead and pop that in there too. Next we're going to do our avocados. So a fun trick with avocado when you cut it is most people will take it off just like this and then try and use the knife to get the seed out, which is a lot more complicated. So you go around and then you can just twist it off into fourths and the seed will just plug right out. You don't have to do anything extra or complicated with that. And then it makes it really easy to peel it as well. Except for this peel itself is kind of brittle, which is annoying. A lot of times they'll just come off in one solid swoop. But yeah, so a lot of times it'll just kind of peel the edge off, and then typically it'll come off in one solid swoop. This feels kind of thin and brittle because avocados a little on the overripe side. So that's why it's being a little bit complicated right now, but overall not too bad. Do my other avocado as well, and then I can just cut them all at the same time. So again, that just pops right on off right there. You don't have to worry about doing anything extra. There we go, that one did it. Okay. Okay, just peel it off, nice and easy. And then this avocado looks like it has a couple gnarly spots. Let me rinse my hands real quick. So it looks like it has a couple gnarly spots on the end here, so you can just go ahead and cut those off if yours has any of that. I'm working with what I could find at the store. They didn't really have anything exactly how I wanted it. Everything was either like overripe or completely underripe, so working with what I got. Alright, so now that I have all my avocados in fourths now, I'll show you. You go kind of like that, and you work your way going diagonal, and then you'll have some nice even pieces all the way throughout, and then you can just cut it sideways like this, and then they're all about the same size. You can plop them in there. So again, from a side angle, I guess, hopefully. I don't know how well of a side that is, but you just kind of go at an angle. And you can do your chunks bigger or smaller. Again, it's up to your preference. I personally wouldn't do it much smaller than this because these ones are already really thin, but if you do it like that, then they're kind of all the same size all the way throughout. So like if you were to fan them out, they're all going to be about the same thickness. You're not going to have, here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. These are all about the same thickness. I know a lot of people do the first part that way and then they just go straight down like this. And then your avocados aren't going to be as even as like if you were to go diagonal. See how these ones are all more even? And these ones are all different sizes. So anyway, you want to go kind of diagonal like that, and then you go ahead and just cut them like this. And then once you're doing this part is when you can go straight down instead of going diagonal. And then you just scoop it up with your knife, plop it in the bowl. Look. Yeah, okay, baby. I'm just doing a thing. Hold on. Now that we have everything cut and in our bowl, we're going to do our lemon. And before I just squeeze my lemon, I'm actually going to cut a relatively thick ring off of it. And I'm going to cut the ring in half. Because I'm going to use these halves as garnishes and make them look pretty. But then also because then once the fish is done and you serve the plate of tacos with the garnish on it, they can lift the garnish up and squeeze it over top of their fish on their tacos. So that it'll have a nice lemony kick. So once we're done mixing all this, I'll show you how to do the garnish. Just so that you guys can try it at home if you want to. Take my fancy little pampered chef dealio here. Gonna kind of flip it upside down here. Squish the edges of that into there because it's a fat lemon. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I just like having the edges in there so all the juice only has one place to go. And then we're gonna go ahead and squeeze that bad boy right on into there. Nice and juicy. that does a pretty good job getting everything off of there. So then we're going to go do the other half. And it's the same thing. You don't have to, if you want, you can do it like this instead of pushing the edges in. I personally, just because it does that, like to push the edges in, but you don't have to. You can just do it like this and let it stick out the edges there. But yeah, so we're going to put our lemon in here. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a little bit of salt. Get some salt. Kind of shake a little bit up on there. Tiny bit of chili powder. Don't want a whole lot because most of it's already on the fish anyway. But because I don't want the colors over here very much. A little bit of fresh black pepper. And our fresh cilantro over here. I'm going to put a couple sprigs of this aside for garnishing, because making plates look pretty, people eat their eyes first. It's kind of important. Alright. And then we're just going to kind of cut this. It's okay if it's roughly done, because we're going to want kind of big chunks in there anyway. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you wanted it to look ultra pretty, you could pick out all the large stems first before cutting it. But since we're just mixing it into the salsa, I'm not too worried about that right now. But yeah, so we're going to do kind of a rough cut like that. It should be good enough. Then people will have some nice big chunks of cilantro. Go ahead and dump that in there. Just got this big and stem like. My little spoon spatula here so that I can go ahead and kind of fold all the ingredients in together instead of just stirring. That way we don't make a huge mess and we don't end up mashing like all the avocado and stuff up, because we want it to be nice and chunky. But we do want all the seasonings and everything to be well intertwined with each other. So now that we have that all incorporated, this is what it looks like. And you can serve it. It's really good with chips and stuff as well. But I'm just putting it with tacos because it's more filling and it'll go good with the fish too. But if you wanted it just as like a party thing or whatever, you can serve it with chips if you wanted, or tostadas. So there's our salsa. And then real quick, I'm going to show you how to do the garnish I was talking about earlier. So you're going to take your lemon, and you want to be really careful because you're cutting towards your hand. But you want to kind of, you see where the white part kind of meets with the yellow part here? You're going to want to cut along the yellow part just to kind of gently separate it away. And you're going to cut it most of the way through, but not all the way. You're going to stop like right here, where there's a little bit of space left. And then you're going to take your lemon, and where you stopped at, you're going to kind of do a diagonal cut like this. And then go a little bit higher up on the side, closer to the lemon. Do another one. And then I usually like to do 3 just because I think things look good in thirds. But so then you got your 3 slices here. So it'll look kind of like this, right? It's a lemon and you got your 3 slices cutting away from the lemon. Like this, you have your thing here still attached and 3 slices kind of going away from your lemon. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fold it upward, and you're going to tuck the bottom half into the top part that's still remaining. And then these strands here, it's like I probably should have cut this one a little bit further. Just real quick. Pop. Let these lay flat outward like that, and then you can kind of manually bend them upward so that you'll have kind of a cute little swooping motion. If you wanted to, you could also most of the way through and then just do one big cut. Because then when you fold it back over, it'll look kind of like a bunny. So then you can have like a little lemon bunny. So the bunny method is really cute if you're trying to like do something for Easter or whatever. But yes, there's the bunny one, and then there's the fancy one. This one's kind of limp because I cut it too thin. But usually it's gonna be in like thirds like that. But yeah, anyway, so here's our garnishes that you can, the people, once you serve it, they can grab it like that and just squeeze the juice on top of their tacos. So with that done, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this stuff up and start actually cooking the fish. I'm gonna put this in the fridge for now. So today I'm gonna be trying out my new deluxe griddle and grill. It has 2 attachment pieces. So these ones are the griddle ones I have on right now, because what I'm doing I would usually make like on a flat top. But it also has grill ones that you can use, and this folds up and over. So you have the grill ones, you can make paninis with it, among other stuff. And then you can like grill steaks with it, make paninis with it, whatever. You can also have 1 and 1, so you can have like the griddle and do pancakes, and have the grill on the other side for doing bacon, so that all the grease drips between the grill marks and your bacon isn't soggy or soft. You can also, if you wanted, cook your fish on a regular griddle or in a saute pan or frying pan, whatever you want to call it. You could also potentially bake your fish to cook it, but then it won't get a sear on it, so it won't be quite as nice, but it's still doable. So there's options of how you cook your fish. What we need to do first is we need to turn this on and set it to sear. Hey, calm down. You just barely got back. Alright, so we're going to set this to sear, and then we're going to press the little start button here. We're going to confirm it, and now it's preheating. So we're just going to go ahead and let that heat up. And on this side, we're going to cook our fish, because that's where the little drip tray is at. So any grease or oil residues that might leak off can go into it. And on this other side here, we're going to do our tortillas so that we can make our tacos that way. Make sure it's heating up on both sides. It feels like it is. So that's good. So we're going to let this heat up, and then we're going to put our oil on it. Let our oil heat up a little bit, dump our fish on. Well, our oil's nice and hot, and our griddle feels pretty warm too, so even though it's still making a little heating symbol, I'm going to go ahead and start the fish, because I'm pretty sure it's preheated enough for the fish already. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump this on there. Now that all my cod is on there, I'm going to go ahead and spread it out nice and evenly. Now we're just going to let it kind of sear on that side a little bit, and then we'll flip them all over once they're done searing on that side. So while our fish is cooking, I'm going to start heating up our tortillas on the other side and putting them on a plate. So I'm going to go ahead and see how many tortillas I can fit on here. It looks like I'll probably only do 3 at a time, but that's okay. These bambinis over. Get over here, Bambi. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start flipping all the fish now. That way it can get cooked on both sides. And then the second side, once I get it all flipped, I'm just going to let it finish cooking on that side so that it can cook all the way through. Probably should have got a spatula instead of the tongs, but it's a bit late for that now. So I got all my fish flipped over now. My tortillas are nice and warm. I have my next tortilla started because my first 3 are done. I have all my fish flipped over. Something to take into account. I'm gonna have to cook this a little bit longer because it was still partially frozen inside when I cut it earlier. So if you're cooking from fresh, then account for it cooking faster. Just kind of a heads up. But now that the fish is done and I don't want it to burn, I turned off the griddle. I'm gonna go ahead and dish everything up and show you what that looks like. So here's our finished tacos. It's the fish first with our mango salsa on top, and then a couple fresh sprigs of cilantro. And then we got our little lemon garnish over there to squeeze on top of the fish. So this is what they look like when they're all done. Yeah, thanks for joining me today. Hope you guys have a nice night.